We'll start today with tomorrow's high-stakes vote in the House of Commons. The Liberal government either survives or falls. At issue, a motion related to the federal budget. The biggest spending line in that budget is defence. Here to talk about what's at stake is National Defence Minister David McGuinty. Hi, Minister. A pleasure to see you. Thank you for making time for our program.
Thank you for having me, Vashi.
Minister, today the pay raises for the hardworking men and women of the CAF come into effect. It's a big part of the budget and one of those rare things all parties appear to support. You were a few weeks ago very confident that your party could garner enough support writ large for the budget from the opposition. That vote is tomorrow, as I mentioned in the introduction. Are you still confident? Will the budget pass?
I have hope in the team through my House Leader's office that are working hard to negotiate their way forward. I hope that all of us can come together and pass such an important budget. As you say rightly, on the defence side alone, over $2 billion in pay raises, which kick in today, back retroactively to April 1st. So we're going to see how it goes on Monday, and I have others who are driving that bus, but right now I'm just pleased to be here in North Bay visiting one of our bases.
The pay raises are a part of the overall expenditures, $81.5 billion over the next 5 years, that are detailed in the budget document by your government. Other than that, there are chunks of money assigned, but for the first time, I think, in almost 20 years of covering federal budgets, there is not a breakdown, Minister, year by year of those expenditures. Why is there not more transparency around that?
Well, I think there's some transparency, and there can always be some more, and we're going to work our way forward now as a department, in our case here with our expenditures, laying track, obviously, to meet these expenditures, meet our 2% target by March 31st, look forward to a 3.5% and ultimately a 5% GDP expenditure by 2035, like we've committed to do with all of our NATO partners. So we're well underway. The department and CAF are moving forward. A number of other departments are brought into a number of programs. They're moving forward. Things are getting through Cabinet, things are getting through Treasury Board, and they're being operationalized as we speak.
Respectfully, though, Minister, is some transparency enough? And I ask particularly because of two reasons. The level of promised spending is like nothing we have seen before, and there have been issues, even when the level was not that high, under previous governments of both political stripes, in actually spending the money that's allocated. We can't even hold you account on that, because we don't know what's going to be allocated on a per-year basis.
There may not be the same details in the budget that we'll find, for example, in MCs that we're working forward, memoranda to Cabinet. We have a plan right now, Vashi. We will be spending 2% of GDP by March 31st. We are operationalizing a plan we put in place months ago. There are big procurements, there are everyday procurements. Obviously, there are front page procurements, but there are below that some really important things that we're doing. For example, ordering generators for the entire Canadian Armed Forces, which haven't been replaced in decades. So there is a plan, it is being operationalized, and I have confidence we're going to meet those targets.
I have questions about procurement in a moment, Minister, but if you have a plan, why can you not detail it to a greater degree than you are in this budget?
Well, I didn't write the budget, so obviously my colleague, Minister Champagne, is holding the pen. It was a long budget already. I think you're going to see, as we roll out these details, it's going to backfill and explain for Canadians exactly what we're doing. And I think also the House knows what's at stake here. Going back to where you started with the interview, there is $82 billion in the line here for the Canadian Armed Forces and our defence, our security, our sovereignty. I really think we ought to be able to come together, put Canada first at a very important, as the Prime Minister describes it, hinge moment for our country. 41.5 million strong. We can do this. We can make these changes. We can make these investments, and we will.
One of those investments alongside, sort of in the file or classified under procurement, a big area that you spoke about, is of course the issue of fighter jets. And I did want to, Minister, ask you very specifically when you anticipate your government will conclude its review of the purchase of the rest of the F-35s.
The F-35 review continues, Vashi. It will continue until it's brought to Cabinet. The Prime Minister, of course, is engaged. But it will continue now. We'll look at it. It's no secret we're looking at industrial benefits. We're looking at other parts and other features of the F-35 acquisition. We've been with the program for some time. We're one of the 8 founding countries. There are many other countries purchasing that aircraft, but we're looking at this with the intensity and the detail with which we have to look at it to be able to make sure we make the right decision.
Can you explain, Minister, for Canadians watching, though, exactly what is taking so long? I'm not sort of arbitrarily asking, right? The review was announced. The Prime Minister indicated that likely it would conclude at the end of the summer or early in the fall. Every minister I've asked since about what is taking so long has not been specific in the way they're answering. The ambassador from the United States has identified it as an irritant. The fact the review is even going on, an irritant in reaching a trade agreement. Isn't the impetus to get it done quicker? And can you provide Canadians today with a very specific reason as to why it's not?
I can't comment on the American ambassador's position about this being an irritant. I don't see it as such. I think this is important for us to examine, take the time that we need. The review continues, and we're going to continue it until we get it right. And that's something that we are proceeding with it. Not much more I can say than that, Vashi. I don't want to betray any confidences. Obviously, we're looking at details around the F-35. We're looking at costs. We're looking at industrial benefits. We're looking at inputs. Remember, we're also building a defence industrial strategy for Canada. We're looking at making of defence and the defence industrial sector a primary economic generator for Canada. That's part and parcel of this budget as well. It's one of the reasons why I'm here in North Bay talking to the folks that are involved with our NORAD operations. We've invested $37 billion in NORAD modernization. We're bringing in a whole new over-the-horizon radar system, so we're better able to detect what might be coming at Canada and the United States on a NORAD basis. So there are many, many moving parts to this. Obviously, the question of the review continues, and as I said before, the review will continue until it's not continuing.
Why were you previously, your government previously, why was it previously able to say, we'll have it done by the end of the summer and no longer can?
Because the government is going to take the time it needs to do the responsible thing and make the responsible decision. This is not precluding us, Vashi, from moving forward with all kinds of procurements. I mean, there are some procurements that I would call front page procurements, fighter jets, submarines, big ticket items, important items. But below that, there are hundreds of new systems, AI systems, computer systems, software programming, right? Generators, kit, uniforms, weapon systems. We are purchasing and rebuilding and rearming the entire Canadian Armed Forces. And as we do so, I'll give you a practical example. In Trenton, recently we announced $850 million to upgrade the base. That's going to create over 1,000 jobs in the Trenton area. Yesterday I visited a small 180-person company that manufactures components for aircraft. My first question for the CEO was, how do we help you go from 180 employees to 500 employees? How do we help you in terms of that new defense industrial strategy that we're rolling out? So we're integrating here, we're bringing in major reforms, major improvements for our members of the Canadian Armed Forces, their lifestyles, their health systems, their kit, their housing, their pay, their remuneration and bonuses, all good. But we're also now integrating it for the first time ever in Canada with a new, enhanced, energized defense industrial system. This is exactly what we have to do. This is the moment for us to do this. We have to do this. This is the opportunity for us to get it right. The Prime Minister has laid track on a plan, and we're now operationalizing it.
And certainly I wouldn't take away from all that you just laid out. I'm sure you'll understand, because you've been here for a long time as well, and I'm not necessarily saying it's you in this role, but when I think about F-35s or other big procurement, I have now covered for years upon years where costs escalated, more taxpayer dollars were necessary. That's the impetus for my line of questioning. And I would conclude just by asking you, Minister, because my colleague was over in Sweden talking to the CEO of Saab, who is promising the possibility of thousands of Canadian jobs, if we were to turn away from F-35s to Gripens. I know you're not going to tell me what you're going to do, but I wondered if you could answer whether or not you've ruled out combining different types of jets in order to fulfill capability requirements. Have you ruled that out?
Listen, we're grateful for any offer, any forthcoming offer that comes forward. If anybody walks into Canada tomorrow from a sovereign wealth fund or with a joint venture in mind, or is looking to set up a company in Canada to create 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 jobs, game on. This is what the strategy is all about. We're looking at pulling up a lot of industrial slack in the country, creating new jobs, high-paying jobs, long-term jobs. So that's exactly what we're doing. We're going to be factoring this in. And by the way, the Swedish King and Queen are coming to Canada next week with 20 companies. And 20 companies will be meeting with many of their defense counterparts right across the country, right across our provinces, to see where there's synergy, opportunity for co-investment, joint ventures, et cetera, et cetera. So we're very excited by this possibility, and we hope the week later it'll be another jurisdiction coming forward and making offers. Canada has what we need. Canada has what the world wants, Vashi. We have the electricity, we have the critical minerals, we have the inputs, we have the steel, the aluminum, the know-how, the engineers, the schools. We've got the risk-taking. This is the country of insulin and BlackBerry. We're going to build a defense industrial sector here, which is second to none.
I'll leave it on that note. Minister, a pleasure as always. Thank you for making the time.
Thank you, Vashi.
All right, coming up on the show, the parliamentary fiscal watchdog is lamenting the government's decision to abandon a long-standing fiscal anchor. Interim parliamentary budget officer Jason Jakes is here next.